Hi everyone, this is Tammy, owner of Worthyworthitpriceless, and today's podcast will be titled God Sees You. This story or of encouragement or inspiration is a little bit more serious of manner. It is actually detailing a story or basically an incident where I contemplated or somewhat almost attempted suicide. So I want to give you a warning beforehand. It's like a trigger post. I believe that's what they say. But I remember before I actually decided to actually do this podcast, I was contemplating actually changing it and saying or talking about something else. And even before I actually press record, I was just debating whether I was going to actually talk about it, but I hope that this story actually helps someone else and it motivates someone else and hopefully gives someone else the motivation not to do it, if that makes sense, or inspiration. But anyway, I remember, I believe it was in July of 2011. And I had just got off the phone with someone and we were arguing and it was pretty intense. And it was basically them or we just blaming each other over what had happened or an incident, a situation that happened between us. And if I'm not mistaken, this person probably doesn't even know that this happened after the phone call. But either way, after the phone call, I was crying, everything. I was emotional. I started to look over my life. I started to, it just started to seem as though my life was going nowhere. I had already graduated by now, but it's just, even if I graduated, it just seems like my life was going nowhere. And, that was basically it. It was like, it just seemed like my life was going nowhere. My job was a dead end. It's just, once you're in that moment, everything, every negative thing that someone has ever said to you, every negative thought that someone has said to you, it gets into your mind. And you just start thinking about it and it just becomes intensified even more. And you start thinking that you don't want to be here. And that's how I started feeling. I started feeling like I didn't want to be here anymore. That it wasn't a reason for me to live anymore. It was nothing going on in my life. No one cared or anything like that. That's how I felt. And so, like I said, I'm just crying profusely. And the next thing I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live anymore. And what I did was I actually went over, I had a whole bunch of knives in my house. Now, mind you, I can't swallow pills. I haven't been able to swallow pills since I was a child. So if I possibly could have swallowed pills, I wouldn't be here today. That was how intense it was. But all I had in the house was basically knives. I had like a whole set of knives, and I went over to the knives. And honestly, I don't know what I was going to do, but I knew whatever I was about to do, I was about to end it. And before I could actually touch a knife, I kept hearing a voice that, don't do it. Please don't do it. Do not kill yourself. And it's like, and it was like the tears was just so much in my eyes. Like it was like blurry, but all I could just hear the words was like, please don't kill yourself. Please don't do it. And I'm like, oh my God. And so basically, long story short, I didn't do anything. And no one actually knew about it. It was something that I kept to myself. I didn't say anything to nobody about it. And I was like, you know what, I need to start going back to church, because I wasn't, at the time, I believe I wasn't going to church. So I started going back to church, and I remember I went to church I was going to church with my mom, and I went to church, I'll never forget, on September 11th of 2011. And we go into church, regular service, this, that, and the third. And almost to the end of service, the pastor gets up, and I know it's like open up the doors of church or whatever. And at this moment, I was still in the spirit, so I'm the only one standing up. So he started saying, he was like, someone needs to come up to the front because the devil is lying to them. He's like, the devil has been telling you lies and God wants you to come up front or something like that. It was like he was calling a person up front. Now, mind you, I just said I was the only one standing up. And I felt like he was talking about me. But I was like, I'm not going up there. I'm not going in front of all these people. I am not going up there. So I'm sitting there. I'm fighting with myself. I'm like, I'm not going up there. So I'm up there, like, trying to get my mind off of him saying to come up front. And so I was trying to think. I was like, okay, I hope he'll stop. I hope he'll stop. Like, as soon as he stops. And then I'm starting to thinking about, like, what I'm going to do after church and all this other stuff. And I'm like, man. And so it's so funny because the pastor was saying, it's like, clap, trying to clap, having people clap and pray for the person to loose the situation off of them so they can actually move. Now, I told you I'm having this fight. So I'm thinking that like it's anxiety or whatever. And I'm like, I know that he's talking about me, but I'm not going up front. I'm not going up front. All of a sudden, my body gets hot. And if you read in the Bible, I know it says something about like the fire shot up in your bones. And it was like, that's how I felt. And it was like, I know this person is here, this, that, and the third. Mind you, I am still the only person standing up in church. So I was like, all right, whatever. All right, I give up. I'm going to go. So I actually went to the front of the church, and I'm shaking and everything. And when I got there, the pastor, he whispered into my ear, and he was saying that God sees you. He said that the devil is lying to you. Everything the devil is saying, he's lying to you. And he was saying like different things that the devil said to me. And he said, that's a lie. That's a lie. And he said that the depression is gone. You've been going through something and you haven't even told any of your closest friends. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, God was like, he sees you. And that's the thing, is throughout everything that I've been through, God sees you and he sees me. And it's like no one knew about that situation. I actually had a video about it years ago. I can't even remember. I believe the title was like, Your Presence is Needed. And before that, I believe I told the story. I don't even know if it was before or after. I actually had a testimony in church about it. I think I had a testimony about it New Year's. But other than that, no one ever knew that I attempted suicide or was having suicidal thoughts because I never told anybody. It was just something that I went through myself, and a lot of times I keep everything hidden so no one knows. I mean, I remember ever since I was a kid, they used to, my family would always ask me like, oh, are you okay? How your day going? And I adapted to saying the words, I'm fine. And I'm like, I'm fine. No matter whether I was fine or whether I wasn't fine, I always said I was fine. And it just came to a point that I wasn't fine. And if God wasn't there that day, I wouldn't be here today. And that's the thing. I went through so many things in my life, and not saying I'm anybody's victim or anything like that, because I know we all have our stories. But even in your darkest time, God is right there. Imagine if I didn't hear that voice telling me not to do it. I wouldn't be here today. And that's the thing. It's like, no matter what, we believe that God may not hear us. And if you listen to society, you may believe that God doesn't even exist. But I'm telling you that he does. He doesn't come on our time, but he shows up on time and is at the nick of time. Like, at the end of the day, I went to church just basically going to church, and I didn't know God stopped the whole service for me. He stopped the whole service for me. If you think that you don't matter, God will stop the world for you. He sees you, he loves you, and he cares so much about you. And I'll get emotional, and forgive me, but it's just, you have no idea. We go through so much, and everybody is just so busy, and everybody doesn't always answer the phone when we want them to, and they're not always there when we need them to be there. But God is always there, and he cares about your life. And the point that he had you press play on this podcast at the nick of time, who knows who may be going through something, but he cares about you enough to stop the whole world for you. Stop everybody in their tracks just for you. He wants to share his love with you basically. He wants to fill your heart. He wants you to live the best life possible. All you have to do is say yes. Yes to him. Because, like I said, if I would have killed myself that day, I wouldn't be here. If I would have stabbed myself that day, who knows what would have happened? Maybe I wouldn't be able to talk or something like that. Who knows? And even that day when I got up in front of church, if I wouldn't have never actually said yes and actually went up to the front, who knows what would have happened? I wouldn't have known that everything that the devil was telling me was a lie. I wouldn't have known that God actually seen when I tried to kill myself. I would have not known how close or how much God actually loved me and how he told me that my depression was gone. You know, that's the thing. He cares so much about you that he would stop the world for you. Don't allow the devil or anybody else around you to influence your mind to make you believe that you don't matter, that you shouldn't be here, or that the mistakes of your past is basically you can't overcome them. Every time that we're trying to do something positive, if someone is around us that's not actually to that level or to that point, the first thing they want to tell us is, oh, well, you used to do this or you used to do that. Those are not the people that you need to have around you. You need to pick positive people to be around you. People that is going to motivate you to get to the next level. People who is going to love you in spite of anything that you've done, even in the past or whatever. We all make mistakes. And a lot of times people want to basically send us to hell for one mistake that we may have done, or because of circumstances or situations. But if we ever put a mirror up to them and show them what they have done to us or anything like that, they don't want to see it. So don't allow someone else to make you feel guilty over the decisions that you've made because of however your situation was at that time. Whew. So no matter what is going on in your life, just know that God loves you. He cares about you. And he exists. And all he's waiting for is for you to say yes. Yes to him. Yes to his will. Yes to his way. And once you say yes, I'm going to tell you right now, Give you a warning. Just because you say yes doesn't mean that you're not going to go through things, because I still go through things even now. But God will carry you through everything. This past year was like the roughest year of my life. I've never been through as much stuff as I've been through this past year. But I know by the grace of God, I'm coming out of it. It's not easy. It's not perfect, but I'm coming out of it. Even just with the podcast, little things that, that God is doing, it matters. There's a situation that's going on with my daughter. Hopefully soon I'll feel, better to actually talk about it. But either way, I see different changes in her. She dances around the house. Like yesterday, we were just dancing around the house, and I had a flashlight on her, and she up there dancing with her little shadow and everything. And every morning, if she can wake up and she has a smile on her face, no matter what. So at the end of the day, if she can do it, then I can do it. And if I can do it, then you can do it. So at the end of the day, just trust in God, believe in Him, and know that it'll all work out. Even if right now it doesn't look like it. Because how my life looked last year to this year is totally different. But God has been seeing me through, and I know He'll see you through too. So until next time, thank you very much for listening to the podcast. That's it. And I will see you, basically have another podcast, hopefully very soon. But until next time, have a worthy, worth it, and priceless life. And I don't know what just happened to my voice, but just have a worthy, worth it, and priceless life. Thank you.